Welcome back to art, guys. Welcome back to St. Paul's. It's going to be a new year. This is Miss Lynn, and I want to introduce to you your art kits this year. So we can't share supplies this year. So everybody is going to get a handy dandy art kit inside this tote. Everything inside the tote is yours and yours alone. You shouldn't share it with other people. And therefore, we're going to start by labeling everything inside the tote. So I reveal your supplies here. So everybody is going to get each and every one of these things, and we're going to label them with the Sharpie that is in your bag. So I'm going to start with, everybody's going to get a glue, and I want you to put your first and last name on everything that you've got. I am labeling for Leo, so I'm going to be putting his name on everything. You're going to write it in a visible place. If you've got a longer name, you could write it along this side here. You're labeling everything, including your eraser. And we're going to go through together each thing. You're going to want to take your pencil sharpener that I've provided you out of its package. You're definitely going to want to keep this in your art kit because we're going to be using these lovely watercolor pencils. And you're not going to be able to get up and down to sharpen them in class, so you're going to want to have this sharpener with you. So it might be a little bit hard to read on some of the darker sharpeners, but you're going to go ahead and write your name nice and legible in that Sharpie on everything. Something important this year, you're going to keep all of your supplies in their original packages, just so they don't get all mixed up and you lose them out of your tote bag. So you're going to want to keep the box nice. Make sure you label it. Same with your markers. If you don't think that you can keep the box of markers nice and organized, maybe as the box starts to fall apart, you might want to use your Sharpie to label each one of your markers, just so that you can keep your entire kit together. This little handy dandy thing is actually a silicone muffin liner or cupcake liner, but we're going to be using it in class when we do watercolors or watercolor pencils, and so you'll get a little bit of water in this. I do want you to put on the bottom your name, so I'm going to kind of flatten it out. The cool thing about these silicone is they wouldn't break in your tote bag as they get kind of moved around. So I'm putting a name on that. You've got a glue stick. Make sure you put your name. You might have to write kind of small on this, on your glue stick. You've got 2 paintbrushes, and yes, I want you to label these too. These are yours to keep. You might just put your first initial and last name, writing kind of small on each one. If it rolls off your desk, we know who to give it back to. Same thing with your ruler. On the back side, put your first and last name. Okay, box of crayons, same thing. We're going to want to try to keep them in the box as long as possible. Write your name at the top of the box. You really want to treat your supplies in this bag nice because they have to last the whole year. There's not going to be replacements. So if you lose something or you've run out of something, you'll have to bring it from home. Other things you can bring from home is maybe you have some favorite markers. You don't like these markers, or you want a thin tip marker you want to add to it. Most certainly you can bring other things to add to your art tote, but we won't be replacing the things that are in it. Most of you in middle school have used this before, and I think even my 4th and 5th graders have tried this. This is a compass. You use it to create different size circles, and we'll talk more about how to use it. There's also instructions on this card that you can read about, but I definitely want you to write your name on this because this is a cool tool to keep. Write your name on your compass. I'm going to keep it in this little card. Probably don't need to keep it forever. And then, of course, your watercolors. So go ahead and write your first and last name. This is the thing I'm most excited about, is this fantastic Canson mixed media, which media, remember, means all kinds of supplies. We've got all kinds of supplies. So mixed media paper sketchbook. It's super nice, heavy paper inside. It's got perforated edges, so if you do a really nice piece of work that you want to save later, maybe mom or dad wants to frame, it'll pull out nice and neat. We are going to work in this sketchbook one page at a time together. We're not going to add other free drawing, during flex time or anything like that to this. Every single page, we hope, will be used during art class in this sketchbook this year. And at the end, you'll have some really nice works, and you'll also have some fundamentals, learning, drawing exercises, painting exercises, things that you'll be able to look back at. Make sure that you nice and neat put your name at the top of this sketchbook. It's kind of a waxy cover, so I might go over it a little bit, and I'm going to want to make sure I let it dry before I stick it back in my tote. Nice and neat at the top. Okay, last but not least, this whole tote that you have got your art supplies in needs to be labeled, because I will be grabbing your class's bin of totes of art kits to bring and pass out to you. So we're going to need to be able to identify whose bag is whose quickly. So finally, I want you to put your first and last name at the top in the middle. Now notice I've got my tote bag on top of the sketchbook. I don't want this Sharpie to bleed through onto the table. So I'm going to make sure I've got it on top of my sketchbook. And I'm going to take my time. I like to write in all caps when I'm labeling things. I feel like it's easy to identify, but you certainly don't have to. I'm going to do it on both sides of the tote. And then I'm also going to maybe put over here on one side of the handle, I want to put 7 because Leo's in 7th grade. I didn't do that on the other side. Make sure you get your grade level on here. And then just to be extra safe, we are going to label the handles so that we can really quickly pass these out. The longer it takes for us to pass these out at the beginning of class, the less art making time we have. So we want to make sure they're clearly identifiable. Do both. And I'm going to do the other side too. I know this is overkill, but this is really going to make things go faster during this wacky year. Making sure you have your own individual supplies. Okay, and once you've done that, you've got everything labeled in your bag. We'll talk about what we're going to do with this tote bag next, which is our first project.